Hey guys, it's your favorite sisters with the Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver podcast. On the show, you'll hear caregivers confessing the good, the bad, and the completely unexpected. You're guaranteed to relate, be inspired, lead with helpful tips and resources, and of course, laugh. Now, let's get to today's confession. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Natalie.
How's it going today?
I'm so excited to be here.
Really? That is so nice. Like, is it just in general excited or
Well,
really
I have
excited?
to see you this morning. And so that, that's a 50-50, but we have some great guests today.
Did you say guest as in plural?
Plural, like with an S.
Oh my gosh. Like how many? Is it more than one?
It's more than two.
Oh,
it's
my
three.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. So let's quit playing around.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
And let's talk about our guest because I am so excited about this. I said favorite because I just saw Jonathan Nash.
You're giving it away.
You've got to watch. If you don't watch this on YouTube, I guarantee you'll be disappointed a little bit. It's good on audio, but to get to see all of us.
It's true.
And the Nash siblings are like the Elliott siblings.
That's true. That's true. So we have siblings today, which we love to have. We have the Nash siblings with us. So let me tell you about them. They are a trio. We have Elisabeth, who's the oldest. She's my favorite. Jonathan, the middle child. He is the only son. And then we have Helen, who we have to say is the baby of the group. Now, these three kids have embarked on an unexpected journey as family caregivers to their mother, who is now in her early 90s. Together, they make up the caregiving team, which truly is a team, bringing each of their unique strengths and skills to the table, whether they are providing hands-on care or offering support from a distance. Today, they are going to share their journey of sibling caregiving, offer us some insight and wisdom, and some anecdotes that will resonate with caregivers everywhere. Guys, we are so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you
for having us.
Oh, this is so much fun. And when you have multiple people, you have to take turns.
I know.
Look at us, we're practicing.
So here it is. The important questions, Natalie.
Let's do it.
Okay, so who by far is the favorite?
Oh, that's easy.
Jonathan.
Okay, all right. Okay. Next question, Natalie.
I would like to know who is in charge.
Elisabeth.
Okay.
Every day.
I think I'm in charge. I don't know if that's actually true or not.
She tells us she's in charge.
That's right.
So there's
we let her think she's in charge.
Oh,
okay.
There you go.
This is our favorite. Who does no wrong in your mom's eyes? Who does no wrong?
Oh, that would be Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Jonathan? Oh, in your
Not
mom's
even
eyes.
close.
Oh, okay. Well, what is it? What is Helen? I mean, does she have like a characteristic? Yeah.
Chopped liver.
Man, it got rough really fast. No, I'm the baby, so I'm just charming.
Oh my gosh. If you guys could see Jonathan and Elisabeth's face, they just were like, I just vomited in my mouth and
Just a little.
Goosebumps all over.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now we have family dynamics, which we always love. We're like, all right, this is how we laid it out. So we are very similar. I'm always in charge.
That's right.
Natalie is never stops talking, and Emily is the baby. So I've laid it out for us. So you guys have an idea. So caregiving, you all three make it work. We always say it's a hot mess, but your mom, now she's in her 90s. Let's talk about when your caregiving really started. Was it a crisis? Did you have a crisis, or did you just slowly get into it? When did it start? Anybody can jump in.
I feel like Elisabeth's going to talk first.
Do it, Elisabeth.
Do it, Elisabeth.
No, Helen, you can lead that. I would say it was not a crisis. I think this was something that we had started talking about, the three of us, that began gradually over time when my mom had a fall. Okay. And afterwards, after her surgery, she had some mobility issues and lived in a 2-story condo where her bedroom and bathroom were upstairs. And of course, there was difficulty in getting her up and down the stairs. And of course, we were all scared about how that was going to work successfully. So we very intentionally, very purposely, but very slowly started talking to her about the future and what her living arrangements might look like. And then maybe 5 years ago, she moved into an independent living community.
Okay. Okay. So how old was she when this fall happened?
Well, there, 2 seconds of backstory.
Yeah.
My mom has had 3 knee replacements and 2 shoulder replacements,
Okay.
along with some other health ailments. But she's one tough cookie. Her pain tolerance is incredible.
Mhm.
But and so you'd have to specify which fall you're talking about.
Okay. Ooh,
Uh,
good comment. Okay.
but so she's had that's over the past 15 to 20 years, those incidents. But I would agree with Elisabeth. I think what really precipitated it's been a gradual process.
Yeah.
What really precipitated was our concern with the 2-story place and her lack of mobility to get up and down the stairs, or the risk involved with that.
Yeah.
And so at one point she was very resistant. She's generally resistant to change, and like we all are in some ways. But so we started broaching the subject of looking around town for a 1-story place for her. Couldn't really find anything suitable, and she wasn't really ready mentally for that change, I think. And then I think we approached it from a little bit different standpoint and started saying, okay, at some point there's going to be a time when you need to make this change. And you may not consider it right now, but right now it's under your control, right? You can make the decision on where you go. We can go around town, search for places, spend the time, and find the right spot for you. If you wait, at some point, may not be under your control. We may have to make like an emergency decision, and so it might behoove you to be involved in the process. And so there was an urging there from our standpoint. Hopefully, we applied the right amount of urging, pressure, whatever.
We nudged her along.
Yeah.
Yes.
We triple teamed her. We triple teamed her. Let's be real.
I would say
it was 3 against 1, and still not fair.
Yeah.
I prefer to use the words influence and persuasion because they have a more positive connotation.
Yeah.
There would have come a point, though.
Yeah.
There would have come a point where we said, this isn't your decision to make any longer,
Right.
just for safety reasons.
Right.
But she was in her early 80s when those conversations started. And it took us a few years to influence and persuade her that it was time. And then I think that last fall and her difficulty with getting up and down the stairs was kind of the final straw that convinced her, yep, I see I need to do this. It was reluctant, but she knew this was the best choice for her.
But she made that in her mind. It was like she finally said, oh, that's the best choice for me. So she was part of that. She kind of made that decision herself.
Although she'll tell you that we made her do it.
Okay.
For sure.
We made her do it. Right.
Okay.
And some of that is a little bit of, she doesn't want to give up the persona that she has, that she's independent.
I got it.
That she's capable, that she can do all of these things. It's maybe a little bit of denial. That I'm aging and I am changing, in addition to the accidents and the falls that she's had. So for her to maintain a sense of self and some dignity, they made me do this. I really didn't need to. We just have to be careful because, for instance, at the community where she lives, they have a social worker that interviews everybody that's coming in, prospective residents. They want to make sure that this person's not being manipulated or exploited. Your kids putting you into a place and taking your money. And my mom has a tendency to make jokes and be a little bit funny. And I told her, I said, Mom, when you talk to the social worker, you can't say stuff like that because they're going to call Adult Protective Services on us and find out what we are doing to you because we made you move and sold your house.
Yes. And suddenly we all went on a family vacation without you.
Yes, we all went to Aruba. Yeah.
That is true. That is so true in this sense. I like that you guys had that conversation with her. I think that's really important because independence, we all, if you think about growing up, our parents want us to be independent and they want us to be able to make decisions. And so for many, many, many moons, we make decisions. And then all of a sudden, your children come back and they're telling you what you need to do. Our mom struggled with that a lot when we would have conversations after our dad died. And she'd be like, I'm good, girls. Like, get out of my face.
Yeah.
Like, go on now. And that happened. That lasted for about 12 years. And for us, it was in a crisis that we had to say, well, you don't sort of have your car anymore. We sold it because you were FaceTiming as you drove. And probably shouldn't do that, Mom. So that's did you all, let me ask you this though, because there is the power of three. Like, I love that there's three of you because there's three of us. And there's always a tiebreaker. Honestly, there's a tiebreaker.
But no one to ride rides with.
No one, that is a problem. No one to ride rides with. So it really just depends. So when did you all, and this is important because I want to know this for me. Well, I want to know this. When did you guys start having conversations about your mom offline separately from her to say, little concerned that we might have to step in here, guys. Concerned that mom's not really able to stay in her home by herself, that sort of feel.
We've been doing that for years. And I will probably have to say that I was the instigator of that because with my background in community-based healthcare, I could sort of see where those things were going. And as the accidents and injuries that Jonathan was describing, as those began to accumulate, I could see that we were headed down a path in that direction where her mobility was going to be the biggest issue.
Yeah.
And so we would remind each other, this is what I saw, this is what I see. And, we need to, at some point, think about this, introducing the topics. But we were having offline conversations, the three of us, for years, probably, I would say, 15 years.
Yeah. So you knew ultimately that you were going to, some people are like, I'm not going to care for my parents. I won't have to. But you ultimately knew that you were going to be caregivers for your mom. Yeah. That was kind of already the plan. So let me ask you a question. Where are you location wise? Who's close to your mom? Who's long distance? Because I know somebody's far away.
That's me. I'm not super far away. I'm about an hour and a half away from my mom.
And I'm about 25 minutes away.
Okay.
I'm way too close. I'm about 15 minutes away.
Okay. All right. Proximity. Good.
Edit. Okay.
Yes. Thank God our mother is not tech savvy. She will never hear this or see this video.
It's okay. We're going to send her a VCR tape.
There you go.
Oh, did you say VCR? You just dated us.
That doesn't require tech savvy.
Exactly. Can you imagine?
So, Helen, you talked about, this is important because we divide up duties, and you talked about your background in healthcare. So do you feel like that's your specialty? So tell me about everybody. Yeah, your superpower. Get your cape out. So tell me how, because I know you're all not, I don't feel like you're all, for us, we don't all have to be hands-on at the same time. Tell me about how you guys define your roles taking care of your mom. Have you guys fallen into, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this? How does that work?
Well, we sort of had, but it's been organic.
Yeah.
Which is really weird because we've never had a family model like with our grandparents where we watched our mom and her siblings become a caregiving group. We have just sort of organically figured this out on our own. And so I do a lot of the healthcare stuff, but because I'm remote, it's all just sort of guidance and suggestions, So Jonathan is the one who's responsible for taking mom back and forth. He's become the medical coordinator with appointments and transportation. And I'll say, you might want to think about having a printed med list, or you might want to go ahead and get her health history for her vaccine so we know when she had her last one, things like that. And I'll ask about medicines, make sure you tell the doctor this when she goes in. So that's sort of been my role, but it all sort of happened organically, I think.
Yeah. Jonathan, what do you feel? What is your superpower other than chauffeurness?
I am Uber Central.
Yours.
Yes. So I'm about 15 to 20 minutes away from my mom.
Yeah.
And so, initially did the driving back and forth as she became less able to drive. And then eventually she sold her car. And so because of that, then I started coordinating the doctor's appointments, things like that, because they need to fit in my schedule as well, right?
Exactly.
If she makes them and they conflict with my schedule, it doesn't work. We end up having to go through the hassle of changing them, that type of thing. So I just took on making the doctor's appointments and keeping track of that, keeping track of the calendar. And the key there is through all of this has been communication with Elisabeth and Helen. After a doctor's appointment, I'll come back and I'll give them an email or phone call report of what was said, what medication, how long she had to take it, the diagnosis, prognosis, everything. And, they'll ask questions and we'll just kind of, they communicate. If we didn't communicate like that, as I said earlier, 3 against 1, with my mom as the one is not fair. We have to be a very cohesive 3.
For sure.
Elisabeth, what's your cape? What's your superpower?
Yeah, so I think my superpower comes from my background in change management, where I know how to bring people along to change and decisions and sort of meet them where they are. And I think sometimes with our mom, that can be a frustrating process because she starts in a position of concrete and from her perspective. And we all do this. It's very fluid, but I think one of the things I'm good at is moving her along in what she would consider to be a non-threatening or soft way. Whereas Helen comes very much from a professional medical, she's the expert. And my mom trusts Jonathan more than she trusts anybody else. But it's really the combination of the 3 of us that bring her along through discussions and decisions and discernments. And then I think the other role that I play is one of the things we worry about with our mom is she's very antisocial. So she is not a joiner. She's not interested in making new friends. She doesn't have a lot of friends, if any, at this place where she's lived. They have a tremendous amount of events and activities, and she won't go to any of them unless one of us goes or one of her grandkids goes. So I'll go over there on the weekends. We'll do a jigsaw puzzle. If she wants to go shopping, I'll take her shopping. So I'm trying to fill that gap of socialization piece, even if it's just with me. It's better than her sitting there watching TV for 10 hours a day.
Well,
but I would say that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do think, though, on any given day, we all play different roles. And it's become very much, this may be sort of where we started and what we have a strength in from other aspects of our lives. But we all do all of these things depending on what the set of circumstances are at the time.
Hey ladies, I need to interrupt for just a second to share about the Sisterhood membership. It's basically a sale every day, and the best part, it's free. Here's the details. We're partnering with our friends at Benefit Hub and other care partners to save you money. With over 200,000 participating companies across the U.S. and abroad, you'll find discounts at your favorite local stores, huge savings on vacations, amazing deals on home, auto, and supplemental insurances, and everything in between. Go to confessionsofAreluctantcaregiver.com to sign up, and then definitely tell your friends about it. They can join too. Trust me, there's a discount for everyone. And don't forget, it's free. Okay, back to confessing. JJ decided she was going to take a 30-day cruise in December, and I thought, she hates me. And I'm like, who does that? But okay, whatever. I think it's great you like your husband. And then Emily decided she was going to take a cruise, and then basically they left me with mom over the holidays, which is fine. But again, JJ is the favorite in our house. Emily is second, very close second favorite. And then if there were 100 people behind Emily, mom would like them. And then there's me. So I feel like 101, I'm feeling pretty good about that. And so I get the whole, like, I had to take over the responsibilities. I went and I leaned in more to it because I leaned into what Jonathan's, your role of like, and Helen's role. I'm a combination of like regulatory, what's going on, and is there any assistance that's needed to clarity around medications and things because of my background. JJ's in charge of all finances. So Elisabeth, I know your background is also in finance. Who's in charge of the money for making sure that that's coordinated? Because I know we have one person.
Jonathan does most of that.
Oh, Jonathan gets to take care of it, but
so I don't handle anything. My mom handles her own finances.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very, very simplistic model, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she handles her own finances. I do have access to them. Actually, we all have access to the information, so we can make sure that she's keeping up with them, and everything's legitimate, that kind of thing. But she handles her own.
Unfortunately, a few years ago, she was scammed.
Oh,
Yeah.
Out of a fair amount of money, which is a whole story worth sharing with your listeners when the time is right.
Yeah.
But after that, we decided that somebody needed to just periodically watch her withdrawals, watch her bank accounts, just to make sure that she hadn't gotten caught in anything subsequent. She understands what happened, but we just felt like having another set of eyes on it was going to be good.
Yeah.
Mm. So we had talked to someone else whose parent was scammed out of $18,000. And it was, and honestly, I hate those people like with a passion, because I'm like, go get a job. Like go do something productive. But then that's a whole nother, podcast, and of why I hate people who are scammers. So do you all have like, so here's a question for like, is this a tip thing? Do you all have like limits on how much your mom can take out? Are there safeguards that you put into place that I think should, honestly, I have safeguards on our credit cards for myself and Jason, just to make sure, like, it's like, hey, are you sure you want to withdraw more than this amount of money kind of idea? Or when you go out of the country, you can notify to say, hey, this is not weird. Do y'all have any safeguards on your mom's accounts? Because I think she's in her 90s and she manages her money at some level.
Correct. And so I have access to her online banking,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got it set up so that I receive notices for almost any activity in the account.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's a strange dollar figure, or I don't know who the recipient is, I'll go and check on it or ask her about it, and just verify. So not a particular dollar. I pretty much see all the activity.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're getting notifications, that's telling you kind of what's going on. Do you all limit how much money that is in that account and keep some over in a side account and supplement it at all?
She's got hers divided up. We haven't had to do anything from that standpoint.
Awesome.
I keep an eye on it, but she keeps pretty tight book on it.
Good. I love that.
She's always been super independent because she's lived on her own by herself since I was like 20 years old. Okay. So you're looking at a really long time she's been independent. So the only reason we even got involved in the finances was because of the scamming thing.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
And she knows, she can tell you exactly what happened. She understands all of it now. But the weird thing about the finances is there's such an emotional component to that, mm-hmm. that we really can't overlook if we're going to talk about the scamming piece, because that was a horrifying experience for my mom. And I think for her afterwards, one of the things she said almost immediately afterwards is, I'm not going to talk about this. We're never going to talk about this. And I said, yes, we are, because it's not anything to be ashamed of. What they did was manipulate her emotionally and claim to be one of her grandchildren in trouble, my brother's son, one of Jonathan's kids. And it was emotional blackmail.
Absolutely.
And my mom was just sick. She made herself sick over the whole thing. And it was, I think, for her, a realization that made her feel very vulnerable and fragile and old and incapable. And we wanted her to know that this happens to people all the time, all over the country. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You should talk about it. We're not upset about it. We don't think that you're feeble-minded because this happened to you. but I think it had a big impact.
Yeah.
But we really try to promote her autonomy. But that's her money. That's her money. Jonathan keeps an eye on it, and it helps her because the tech piece, right? She doesn't do that very well. She has no concept of online banking. She can't do that. She doesn't own a computer or a smartphone. She still wants a paper statement, and she wants to reconcile her checkbook.
Absolutely.
And nobody does that anymore.
Yeah.
She just can't function within the technology part of it. But I think that speaks a lot to her dignity and quality of life and her mindset, that Jonathan really tries to promote that independence in that piece. She just doesn't need us that way.
That's good.
Yep.
Yeah. So we try not to interfere in that.
Another piece of background on her life. She's been a single mother of 3 since I was 6. We were 4, 6, and 8, I think, when she moved back to our hometown. We moved in with my grandmother, and so my mom didn't have a place of her own. She moved back in with her mom, with her kids, and for all of our childhood. And so when we got out of the nest, she ended up getting a townhouse, and so that was her first independently owned, purchased house. And so when she moved out of her townhouse to go to the retirement community, that was huge because she loved her townhouse. That was her baby. And the first one that was the first place she'd ever had that was really hers. And so there was a large emotional component there that we had to work through.
If you like confessions, we have another podcast we'd love to recommend, the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast with Elisabeth Miller. As a fellow Whole Care Network podcaster, we love how Elisabeth chats it up with family caregivers and dives into their caregiving and self-care strategies. Just like us, Elisabeth believes that family caregivers are the experts in caregiving. Beyond the informative conversations, Elisabeth reveals the tried and true resources and practical self-care tips that empower caregivers to prioritize their health and happiness. You can find the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast wherever you download your favorite podcast, or go to the website at happyhealthycaregiver.com.
So tell me, we talk about communication between the 3 of you all. So you guys you communicate, but tell me about communication with your mom, because I know that you had said, I know she's not tech savvy. Okay. But I know we've got some tools and some things like with COVID and some other ways that we communicate with her. But tell me about how you guys communicate, because I know that Elisabeth said, she's not super social, but tell me how you keep her, why it's important to keep her engaged with the family and to make her part of events.
So I'll just speak from my standpoint. I think we're super low tech in that we are talking to her all the time. I know I talk to my mom every single day. I think Helen does too, and Jonathan probably you do too, or at least several times a week. And because she doesn't use technology and there's no way we're going to communicate any information to her, that's how we stay in touch with her. And also we encourage her grandkids to stay in touch with her. We bought her, what's the name of that thing? A grandpad.
Grandpad.
Yeah.
It's
Think
amazing.
of it like an iPad for an old person.
Yeah.
And so she can do their equivalent of FaceTime.
Yeah.
So her grandkids can call, and now she can see her great grandkids. So we try to go out of our way to find ways to keep her involved. If, for example, one of her granddaughters is playing soccer on a Sunday morning, I'll say, hey, let's go watch Colleen play soccer, and we'll go do that. So I see one of our primary objectives is to try to maintain that social side for her, and which of course involves the communication and time spent with us too.
I would say also that we have learned that communication has to be consistent with my mom, with all 3 of us talking to her. So while we're talking to each other, we try to be really consistent about what we talk with her about and any guidance we offer, because my mom has some mental degeneration that's just natural aging. She doesn't have Alzheimer's or dementia, but it kind of presents that way, especially in the last year. Her memory has become a big issue. And so she's very inconsistent about what she tells each of us, and we get different stories.
Right.
She'll tell me that my brother has done this and this and this. And I'm like, I think I need to fact check that. So I'll send my brother a quick text and say, hey, did you do this and this? And of course, no, he didn't. Or mother has given it a different spin. So really consistent communication, messages coming from us to mom. And again, all this was organic. We just identified this. And we never allowed it to cause an issue in the caregiving village in our group. And that, I think that kind of consistency has become super important for my mom.
And I don't think we would ever use the word strategy or that we strategize about communication. But the truth of the matter is, to Helen's point, we're trying to make sure we're consistent, that we're united, that we're not confusing her if she's confused about something. And so there is a strategy of making sure that we are all aligned. And this is what we're going to say. This is the path forward, so that we don't add any additional stress into conversations or decisions or things that have to happen any more than that's naturally there.
Yeah.
And there's a decent level of stress that is naturally there for her.
Yeah, because she can't manage some of these, like the healthcare stuff. She can't navigate those systems. She can't navigate automated systems. She has trouble maintaining a calendar and scheduling. So that consistency is super important from us.
If I can piggyback on what I'm sorry, JJ. If I can piggyback on what they were saying for a second, as far as the communication goes. While my mom, the memory issues have arisen over the past few years and that type of thing. Let's be real. My mom has always, when she's talking to the three of us, we each get a different story. Some of it true, some of it figments of her imagination. And these were not memory issues. These are just things that she'd make up on the fly purposefully, whatever suited her needs.
Yeah.
And so we check with each other afterwards. We get three completely different stories.
Yeah.
We also get that, Jonathan. So
don't worry. Our mom does that to us too. Like, have you talked to your sister? Oh, okay. Well, then I need to tell you something.
Yeah, that's good to know.
And you're like,
makes me feel better.
okay, Mom, that sounds interesting.
Mom is a wily old lady. She's a mess.
And this is long term. She is a very intelligent woman, very independent.
She is a gifted, tall tale teller. There is no doubt about that.
And she's always been like that. Always been like that. But we were on to her very early in the process.
So we have to circle the wagons and make sure, that do the fact checking. She'll, as I said, she'll come up with stories, or she'll come up with, wording from conversations with, someone else. And so we have to check with each other. And then she'll come up with, out of the blue, there are only 3,467 bald eagles left in the United States. And you go, where in the world did you get that?
Yeah.
And I think she's just making something up. And then I go fact check that, and she's exactly right. So you can't. Yeah. I don't know. It's
she watches a lot of TV.
I was gonna game shows. Yeah.
Trust but verify. I think is how we would apply everything that she says, but particularly amongst the three of us.
Yeah. I would probably say mom plays off of our weaknesses. And so my weakness is guilt. Yep. And so she will push that button all the time. Like, my robe has holes and it is worn out.
Everybody else has a new robe. But
Natalie is like, I just bought her a new robe. And what we find out is like Miss Martha next door got a new robe. And I'm like, Mom, I found out you got a new robe.
I don't have any shoes. JJ's like, I bought her 2 pair of Skechers last week. And
same.
You didn't buy her the shoes you wanted. She wants 3 pair for the skilled nursing facility because everybody else is really going on a shoe fashion show. That's interesting. Oh, I really like that.
I want to add one other thing to the communication, because I think it's super important for people who are in these positions, is one of the things that we try to do, and we're not perfect at it, but we try to do, is leave her with as much semblance of control as we can, because as these big decisions in her life have occurred, all of these significant changes, and just the small natural ones like Helen was describing, where she's losing control over things she can do or decisions she can make. And she's so used to having been in total control for the last 70 some odd years, is to the extent we can find things in her life that she can continue to control, we want to encourage that. And sometimes it's easy for us to dictate, and I'll just say for me to dictate, here's Mom, here are the things you need to do. There's no question, just do them. But she doesn't have any input in that, and she feels like she's lost control over yet something else. So in our communication, we're looking for, is that a battle, a hill worth dying on? It's not. Let her. She isn't going to change that. It doesn't really matter in the overall scheme of things. Let her control that. And so there's this underlying theme of alignment around things she can control amongst the three of us. And, sometimes we have to pull each other back or push each other forward on those conversations. But the idea is not to completely remove all autonomy from her life. It is her life. And we want her to feel some semblance of control left.
And we want to augment her ability to do things. So even when she was in the townhouse, we found accommodations, whether it was, she started off with a walker. We eventually installed a stair lift because it was a 2-story thing. And so in her mind, with the stair lift, she could have lived in the 2-story townhouse forever. There were still a lot of fall and risk concerns on our part. Can I switch gears for a second?
Yes. Do it.
Okay. I'm really happy to be doing this because it makes me realize what a blessing some of this situation really is. And from a relationship standpoint, I'm closer to my mom than I've ever been. Okay. I would spend a bunch of time with her. After each doctor's appointment, we go to lunch because part of it is there's a little element of, like Elisabeth was saying, we feel the responsibility of the socialization aspect for her because she doesn't get it outside of us.
Right.
And so I take the time to go to lunch. And even though there are times that I just want to drop her back off, after a doctor's appointment, I'll go, I'll eat with her and give her, we have a little bit of a socialization, period. And it's helped our relationship. My mom and I laugh a lot. I throw digs at her all the time and even on here, but we laugh a lot.
Yeah.
And the second byproduct of this whole thing is I feel like I have a better relationship, a closer relationship with both of my sisters now than I ever did. And, as we went away from school, I'm also an emotional guy, so hang on. As we went away from school, we went our separate ways, families, careers, etc. And this has kind of brought us back. The need for this has brought us back. That's how I talk to my sisters all the time. And, I appreciate it. That's a blessing to me.
Oh, I love that.
Okay,
and I'm glad you went there, Jonathan. That is where we want to go because we want to ask, we've talked about your mom, we've talked about your all skill set, but I want to talk about your all's lives.
Guys.
Yeah. We want to talk about you, and you've got kids, you've got grandkids. Yeah, somebody does. There's like 4 of them and one on the way, So, but I want to talk about that. And I hear that so much, Jonathan. And I love that about going out with your mom afterwards. The last time I took my mom to a doctor's appointment, she always gets to choose the restaurant, but I asked her, I said, okay, Mom, we're headed back. And usually it's Chick-fil-A. That's her weakness.
Yes.
But she said, I want a bagel with salmon. And I was like, it's like 1 p.m. I want salmon and cream cheese and those little things on top. I was like, game on. I'm in Knoxville, but I'm like, I'll find it, So,
also a people pleaser.
Yeah, a people pleaser.
That's awesome.
But tell me about that. Like, tell me about your lives these years, careers. Just kind of give me an overall what this has done in your lives, like how you think it's impacted your lives. Are there days like? For me, there are days when I'm like, I'm going to drop Mom off. I'm done. Today's the day I can't do it.
So I'll start this because I think it's the show's confessions, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So I have such a long background in community-based care. I've counseled and coached and guided and supported all these different caregiver groups. And I had this expectation in my head that of the three of us, I would be the one that handled it the best. That I would step forward and I would do everything that mom would need, and I would, put my shoulder in and be great with it. And I have a tendency to feel like I am the poorest functioning of the three of us when it comes to caregiving. The distance reinforces that, right? Because I can't do the hands-on as easily. I still work. And I feel guilty that it's kind of morphed into this job that my brothers had to take the burden of. I don't like it that Jonathan's had to take all that. So we do try to divide things out. But I have always felt like, oh, I should handle it better. And then I get the guilty part of it that's grieving as well. Because my mom has had a major change in the last month or so. She has a torn rotator cuff now, which cannot be repaired because she's not a surgical candidate. And it's changed her sleep patterns. We think it's affecting her mentation some. She now has a caregiver 4 days a week, which is a huge life change. And so as a person who works in end-of-life care, I see these changes moving towards a decline. And so I can back up and look at that a little bit. And then I'm like, what the hell? This is my mom. And I don't have those days where I take her to an appointment and go to lunch. And of the three of us, I would say that I enjoy those times the least. I have more trouble connecting with my mom emotionally that way. And that's just my mom. Our personalities are very different. We don't jive that way. And I struggle with it. But for me, I can see the anticipatory grief starting to show in myself.
Helen, you're so insightful about yourself. It's amazing. You've always been like that, but I respect the heck out of that so much from you.
Yep.
Well, this has made me more grateful for the gifts that my siblings have that are different from mine, because we could not do this. I have no idea how solo caregivers do this. God bless them. My mom would be living in a box somewhere. I don't know how we would do it if we didn't have the three of us.
Yep. And I think for me, I'm more at the opposite end of that spectrum, because I know that Helen knows the vision. She knows what happens from here. She knows the sequences and phases that occur. And I'm really, and maybe this is a protection for me, I'm really interested, is my mom okay today? Is she happy today? Is she laughing today? Is she happy tomorrow? Is she safe tomorrow? And of course, intellectually, I understand where this is going, but emotionally and mentally, I'm not going to cross that bridge in my mind until I have to. It's just the way that I'm managing through it. I would say one other impact in my life that is worth mentioning is I just have become so much more empathetic for caregivers of all kinds. And I think if you'd asked me 10 or 15 years ago, I would have said, of course, I understand that's a hard job. I had no idea what I was talking about. And so for other people in my life, I'm still working. So for example, my coworkers or my friends who are going through this, now I can sit in that space with them in a way of understanding that I never had before. And it has dramatically changed my perspective and my empathy for caregivers. Unbelievable.
I really appreciate what all three of you just shared. It's so personal. And I think that's the thing about caregiving. And it's one thing, for me, I've cared for other people for professionally, and Helen, you do the same. But when it's somebody that's close to you, regardless of the relationship, who's the favorite and who's this or who's that, all the titles that we like to give ourselves and things like that, I think it's so different for each one of us. And it sounds like you very much respect and support one another. And I know that you all probably have a text message group on the side where you all communicate with each other. I don't know about you guys, but we enjoy memes as well. We think ours will be a book sometime and it would be in the humor section because dumpster fire and all these memes come up. And so, because I think, I know, Jonathan, you said you like to laugh. I know that you guys you have to laugh a lot some days so that you don't cry. And because some days are harder than others and just do it. Elisabeth, JJ and I were having this conversation about mom yesterday, and it was a snot fest. Sometimes we cry on the phone, and we're not prepared for what's happening for our mom. So, and Helen, I can relate to you in that my mom and I, of all of us, we have the most tenuous relationship because we are so much alike and so strong-willed. It is very hard. And I want to use this finger, like you need to do this, or I'm very direct, and JJ is very soft around the edges and Emily's soft, and I'm about as pointed as they come. And my mom is like, suck it. No, Natalie. And I just want to be like, because it's faster. My personality is like, Mom, just do this. Just do this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You all saying we have to let her come to it. She'll get to the answer. We just have to get her, help her along.
Right.
That's very helpful. Influence. See, look at you guys are influencers.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for that. Let's just,
I know, right?
do what you need to do.
Wherever Natalie is on the
got
screen,
time.
That's wherever she is on your screen. That is her. She has no patience. But I'm Jonathan because I'm the most emotional one. Yesterday I was crying because they haven't fixed mom's tooth, and it's been like 3 months. I'm emotional about that. But I'm also the soft message deliverer. So to try and coerce her, because much like your mom, she will make those decisions herself. And if I can lead her to the well, it's a whole lot easier than dropping her in the well. So,
oh my gosh.
But it's amazing to me. One of the things that just blows me away is how together the three of us make a complete supportive scenario. And we all do it differently, and we all feel differently, and we bring different gifts and strengths and weaknesses to the table. But together, we do one hell of a job. Together, we're keeping my mom exactly where she needs to be, safe and happy and healthy and protected. And I feel like if it were just two of us, we would struggle. We would miss the components of that third person and that third piece of input. But together, I'm amazed by how great we are as a team.
Yes.
And God help if just one of us had to be the caregiver for my mother, she would eat us alive.
She would eat us alive.
Yeah, we'd never survive it.
Yeah,
she's a force.
Oh yeah, she is. It's the fair fight, 3-1. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And God help us if you were to go interview my mother after this, and she would tell you a completely different story.
She'd be like, I don't even know who those people are. They
just
keep
my
coming
kids.
in. I see their
just
name
show up.
and I don't know what they're about. And I'm watching TV, and they're like, come on.
But they sold my car. Did
they tell you they do a good job? Yeah, let me tell you. Let me tell you a different story.
Yeah, I love that. We always say God knew it took 3 daughters to take care of our mom. And God knew it took 3 children, siblings to take care of your mother. And so right. I mean, honestly, I feel like, Jay, we could go on for another hour because this is so good. I think there's so many listeners who are going to be a little envious isn't the right word, but long for the relationship that you guys have. And sure. This is not about bringing up dirt. JJ and Emily and I get on each other's nerves at times. And there are things that will be like, I don't know that I really agree with that, but you didn't have to tell me that way. Cause Helen, when you said, I tell Jonathan, do this and do this and do this. And I know that I've been to JJ and Emily. I'm like, now, did you do this? Did you do this? And Emily will be like, I'm sorry, you're not micromanaging me, ma'am. And I'm like, okay, it was faster to say it that way, but I'll reframe it for you to make you feel better. So I think there's a lot of listeners who know that they have broken families in the sense of their siblings that don't help in the care. And that's hard. Sure. That is really hard. So they're going to hear this and be like, I feel jealous. I feel a little envious that I wish that I had that. So, but I do want to say it's time, Jay, for sister questions.
I know.
Oh.
I know.
This is like lightning round. It's scary.
It's not bad. It's not painful.
So easy.
I've been the victim of this before.
No, I know, right? The buzz in. Man, we should have done a game show, Jay. I didn't even think about that. Man, Jonathan.
We would have had to get his mom on here, though. She knows about the Eagles.
Oh my gosh,
right? How many Eagles? That's like a test. Okay, Jay, you go first.
Okay, so you talked about communication. Tell me one of the key things that get you through the day. Like, what's your key go-to? You're like, I'm having a stressful day. I got to run mom everywhere. There's a problem, or I'm stressed out and I don't have time for this. What's like your go-to calm down?
Those two people, that my sisters, they as they were, Helen, I think, was saying a minute ago, if it were a solo act, as far as taking care of her, you go nuts. But because we have a singular focus, and we are very different personalities in some ways, but we have a singular focus. And when we all three have that focus with the good intentions for my mom, it comes together, and it's I see it as opportunity and blessing. There's the responsibility and not burden, but the opportunity to work with my sisters in areas I've not gotten to all my life, and it's made me appreciate them more. Opportunity to spend time with my mom that I had not. My mom and I trade barbs all the time. We just kind of joke with each other all the time, and again, blessing from that standpoint. Yeah. I happen to be retired, so I have time to go spend with her, and I live closer to her. So again, just opportunity and just a blessing to be able to do it.
I love that. Elisabeth.
Yeah, for me, mine's not so noble. When I need to get away from anything and everything, I will get online or get on the TV and watch some kind of cooking show, something and I don't cook. And so it's just this mindless, I don't have to pay attention. I love the competitions. I love watching it, but it's just some kind of release for me. 45 minutes, and then I can move on to what's really important in my life. So it's sort of a guilty, but not really guilty pleasure.
Oh, Helen.
So my go-to is a call or a text with somebody who's also living the same experience. So I will reach out to Elisabeth or Jonathan. A lot of times it's Jonathan, and I'll call him and I'm like, what the hell? You are not going to believe what that lady just said to me. She's bat crap crazy, and so I take my turn on the ledge and they hold on to me, and we commiserate, and then we all just kind of take a deep breath and we remember it's worth it, and we laugh at how crazy and understand that maybe we are going to be one of the crazy old people, and our kids are going to do the same thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
We hope.
We hope, because our kids have it coming. But just to be able to talk to somebody who not just doing the caregiving job, but doing this caregiving job.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference in the world.
And I need to put a little shout out. Sorry, two seconds. A little shout out to my wife, Betsy, who supports me in this. I spend a lot of time, ton of time doing logistics for my mom, that type of thing, talking to my sisters. And my wife is extremely supportive of what we're doing and the time that I spend doing it. And so I just need to make sure that, she hears that I appreciate it.
Yeah. And she's sitting in the room with him with a cue card that totally said, fine. Make sure you've mentioned.
I read that right, correct? Yeah.
So this is going to be, let's get tipsy. Okay. And everybody's like, what are we drinking? No, let's get tipsy. And what is one tip that you would give another caregiver or give our listeners? So one tip you would give our listeners on that has really helped you as a caregiver.
So I would say, I'll emphasize what I said a few minutes ago, is try to look for things that the person you're taking care of can continue to control and decide and be independent about, as opposed to feeling like you have to control and manage everything.
That's a good one.
It's hard to do sometimes, but it's vital, I think, for them and their peace of mind. And quite frankly, I think helps us as well in understanding we don't have to control everything.
I like it. Jonathan.
I don't know if I have a particular piece. The whole process has been an organic learn as you go process.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'll go back to what I think is the key for us, and it's the communication amongst the three of us. And I can't overstate how important that's been.
You said it's organic and you learn as you grow. Have you screwed up, Jonathan? But it's okay. Have you messed up a little or ever or?
I say things wrong or screw up or forget things daily. And,
it's okay.
But people are forgiving it, and we work through it and move on.
Caregivers, that is your message for the day, that it is okay if you mess up. It happens to the best of us. So
we screw up stuff all the time. It's okay. It's okay. We don't screw up the big stuff. This is life. We're not perfect.
And we've learned from it, and it helps build the team and the relationships.
I love it.
So we're better
Helen.
because of it.
I would say my biggest tip to another caregiver would be, don't worry about the second guessing and the shoulda, coulda, woulda, because I look back now on things we did and I think, man, if we had done this differently or we had done that differently, that's really not energy that's productive to manage what you're doing now. And, caregiving is all about conserving energy for what the moment you're in. So don't look back and second guess. You're doing the best you can. You're making the best decision right now with the information you have in the situation you're sitting in currently. And as long as you make those decisions with the best interest of your loved one at heart, you're not going to make a mistake. It may seem like a misstep later on when you look at it, but it's not a mistake.
I love that. Man, I love you guys. You have no choice but to be honorary siblings of ours. So we just keep growing our family. And I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing absolute words of wisdom and how siblings can absolutely get along and being able to support their family and their loved one, and for you to be able to continue to live your life too. And I think there's so much words of wisdom. Jay, any last thoughts? Any deep thoughts?
You guys are fantastic. And
they've
like given me insight now. I'm like, all right, I'll be nicer to Natalie. Thanks, guys.
Oh, that is so sweet. Be nicer to Natalie. Let's keep being Natalie. She's not on here.
Yeah, no, I really do. No, I really do. And I think regardless of sibling relationship or not, that key about communication is so important. Regardless of relationship, it's for everyone. And it is the emails. It is making sure, hey, mom had this change in her medicine. That way, no one is surprised by anything. It is that communication. And that for every caregiver, for every listener, I think that is vital.
All right. Well, guys, we're wrapping this up, and we thank you for listening until we confess again. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, friends, that's a wrap on this week's confession. Again, thank you so much for listening. But before you go, please take a moment to leave us a review and tell your friends about the Confessions podcast. Don't forget to visit our website to sign up for our newsletter. You'll also find the video recording of all of our episodes on the Confessions website and our YouTube channel. Don't worry, all the details are included in the show notes below. We'll see you next Tuesday when we come together to confess again. Till then, take care of you. Okay, let's talk disclaimers. You may be surprised to find out, but we are not medical professionals and are not providing any medical advice. If you have any medical questions, we recommend that you talk with a medical professional of your choice. As always, my sisters and I at Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver have taken care in selecting the speakers, but the opinions of our speakers are theirs alone. The views and opinions stated in this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting company. This podcast is copyrighted, and no part can be reproduced without the express written consent of the Sisterhood of Care, LLC. Thank you for listening to the Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver podcast.